If you like to photograph your family, you may be guilty of unlearning your kids how to behave natural in front of a camera. But don't despair, in this video I will help you how to not only get better genuine images of kids and adults alike, but moreover I will tell you how to avoid that people behave awkward in front of a camera. As soon as someone raises the camera, they stare into it and present a smile that I would at best call forced. Let me elaborate a bit on that observation so that you better understand how to avoid it. When I photograph kids, for example for a school that needs genuine images for their website, many kids freeze as soon as they realize there is a camera around and set up a totally fake smile that completely ruins the situation and the shot. Then I have to start staging the situation instead of just capturing natural activity and trick them to get genuine smiles. More about my favorite trick later. Same with family portraits. No matter if staged or genuine, as soon as some kids look into the camera, they are all of a sudden not themselves anymore and are replaced by grinning robots. It's also becoming more and more an issue with adults, but nowhere nearly as bad. Yet. Because kids grow up and they keep their habits, even as adults. I want to help fight that trend and will give you tips how to avoid that, because I have found out what causes that and how you can work around it. First, of course. I live in the outskirts of Vienna, and when I go through the city on weekends or during the holidays, I see many families in front of our beautiful sites trying to take nice pictures. At best they say, "And now smile." But a kid usually doesn't smile if it doesn't have a reason to laugh or smile. They haven't yet posed in front of a mirror and studied their faces to understand how their smile looks, so they just can't give you a genuine smile. But it gets even worse than that. The solutions for some parents is a verbal threat.
"Now smile or you won't get an ice cream afterwards."
It can get a lot worse than that, but if you're guilty of that practice, you probably know anyway. How in the world should someone show a happy smile if he's threatened? Would you put on a genuine smile for the corporate portraits of your employer if your boss told you, "Smile or you won't get a paycheck next month"? That's incredibly counterproductive. A slightly better way is telling people to say cheese, but that doesn't create genuine smiles either, because why should a kid say cheese? That doesn't make sense for them. Being professional photographers, my wife and I have shot thousands of portraits for companies and private people. For a law firm, we even traveled Central Europe to photograph 500 portraits for their new website. Later, we also did a lot of brand imagery for them, and what works 95% of the time is having them say, "Hey!" We once had a 3-hour shooting with more than 20 lawyers, and they constantly had to say, "Hey!" to get a smile and a friendly expression out of them. You would assume that they would find that childish or awkward, but in reality it was one of the best shootings we ever had. We as photographers and they as employees had so much fun that we got tears in our eyes. That obviously requires you to be a bit of an animator at first. You have to believe in it and demonstrate it with great enthusiasm. Hey! 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 Don't be shy, but be a clown instead and make fun of yourself. It works, trust me. We have used "hey" before, but from this moment on we exclusively used it whenever we needed genuine smiles on command. No need to tell bad jokes, try to motivate people in other long-winded explanations. Just let them say, "Hey!" And just like for adults, it also works for kids. Maybe try it out for yourself in front of the mirror. Say, "Cheese," and then say, "Hey!" You would see the latter gives a much more genuine smile. And often it's not the very moment they say "hey" that gets you the best smile, but shortly afterwards, when they have to laugh about them constantly saying "hey." If they don't smile genuinely and you need to rely on the actual facial expression that the word itself creates, you actually want to press the trigger when they are at the letter Y, not at the letter E. So, "hey." Because at E, the mouth sometimes is more open and you can see the tongue. But try either way, because for some people the E works better and for some the Y. That's also one of the reasons why we shoot many frames when we want genuine expressions. I'll make a separate video about why that can be extremely important, even though some old-fashioned pros will tell you that this is a pretty bad idea. If you don't want to miss that, let me recommend subscribing to my email list, where I give tips like this on a regular basis. Plus, you get all sorts of cheat sheets that help you take images you are proud of.